Welcome to our demo of Foliosflow. In this demo, we will use it to show you how we're going to generate a number of resources, a number of projects, and put those resources on those projects, on tasks on the projects, as well as creating resource reservations, so allowing the client to create resource demand and review resource demand. We'll also be creating the resource role, so allowing organizational resources to be used within the system. Finally, against the project, we will be um, importing some milestones, which could be from an external system, and that will be placed against the projects. And lastly, we can create some standard activities associated with the resource. So that means we can actually demonstrate taking data from an external HR system, which may be more frequently used than PlanView's system itself. So generating a more accurate view of the resources availability. And everything we're going to generate today is going to be from one single Excel file, which we'll show you. Within this plan view system, we have created two portfolios, one for the work. So as you can see here, we have a work portfolio, which is empty. It's described as FF projects, or Folios projects. And then also, just to confirm the resource structure, we have an empty resource structure, but we're going to create a resource under each of these teams, and we're going to complete it with full name, resource roles, and position, etc. Next, let's take a look at the input file that Foliosflow will use. As you can see, we have a number of tabs across the bottom indicating the data set that will be loaded. The first one is the projects. So we have 10 projects that will be created within the system. We'll know which parent it's being created by. And finally, we can see the data that we will actually create. So this can be any data that's required by the client, but as you can see here, we're just keeping the overall status assessment is one of the data items. Next, we have the resources. The resources, again, there's 115 of these, and we're creating resource records that and also user records, so we can log on to the system. And you can see here we've got the role that will be used in OBS 20. So again, once we've created it, we could create org-res and start creating demand on the projects, because that demand will come from the reserves on the projects. So we're going to create reserves, um, basically very simply. They will be created on the tasks, and the tasks are created again on each project. You can see the unique key that we'll be using. So we'll be creating, to recap, we'll be creating resources, users, projects, tasks, and within that we'll also be creating reserves on the users that we create. And then finally, we're going to create milestones on the projects, ensuring that parent-child relationship. And the last thing we'll create in this demo is standard activities. So standard activities on a resource that we've created in this tab here. That emulates the fact that we could have an external HR system. It's kept up to date, that we're going to take the data from on a weekly or monthly basis to ensure that the resource questions that are answered within the PlanView system is using accurate data. The next step is to actually invoke Foliosflow executable. So we have a batch file here. So if I just click that. So what we will do now is we're actually logging on to the system using all the details in the parameter file and any security features such as 1Password. So now what we're doing is we're creating all the data that was specified in the tabs in the Excel spreadsheet. So as you can see, it's pretty quick at creating all those resources and updating those resources with the or with specific data and creating the projects and updating the projects with the project information. And finally, it's just created the standard activities for the resources it's previously created. And that's job done. Now we've run the Foliosflow executable, we can review the data that's been created within the system. So if I first look at the resources, we will see that the resource sheet had 115 resources in, and now we've got 150 resource records and user records and the attributes that we wanted to create. And you'll notice that the resource role has come through, which is the OBS 20 in the system, which can be used now for org and resource planning. Now if I take a look at the work that we created, so remember we were creating work, tasks, milestones, reservations. So if I come back into here, you will see that we have all our projects created and our project level information. And then again, if I just look at the plan, we can see that the tasks were created, and within the tasks we can create subtasks. For example, this is a milestone that's been created. So the task came from the task sheet, the milestones came from the milestone sheet, and if we look at the schedule and assignments, we can see what the reserves have come through that as required. So we've created a project, we've created a schedule, we've created the resource requirements, and then we've created the milestones within the schedule. And again, if we look at the individual resources, and we can actually look at the detail behind them, we can see that at the bottom here, we can see more details about the individual reservation. And going back to the the resources. The last update in the spreadsheet was standard activities. And again, if I come back into here and type in the word Alice, I can see here from the staffing that she was already on the project A, which is there, project A, the approval. So that was a reservation. But now in the last tab in the Excel spreadsheet, there was her vacation days. So now we've imported in standard activities against the resource, so making the resource management process a little bit more accurate with real live data coming in. As operating Foliosflow parameters and files and web services, we've created a AI robot to allow us to provide assistance for the end user. So each client will have their own access and their own user ID. But if, for example, I type in playground here, what we've got, the system has an inbuilt library that allow the users and the clients to extend the functionality of Foliosflow. And as you can see, it's going to give me some options now. So if I wanted to create some attributes, for example, attributes against a project or the resource and update them, I can do that. So let's by type C. And we can also use knowledge flows to resolve any errors that we find on the on the syntax. So we have an example for you of what to create, and then you can then now create that in the Excel input file, and then create the data in the Excel spreadsheet, and then run the execution. One of the features of Foliosflow is that we can use delta updates. So we will only update. So if you pass in a file of a number of resources or projects, it will check first within Folios within portfolios and actually see if it already exists. And if it does, it leaves it alone. If it doesn't, then it'll update it or create a new record. So Foliosflow is supported by Knowledge Flow, our own AI robot.